You know these things, you can be driving along the highway at 100, put it into neutral, put your foot flat on the throttle, and it'll be bouncing off the limiter, and you can actually slip it into reverse, and it'll go into reverse. He says, do it.
Hey there, welcome along. Aaron Noonan here. This is the V8 Sleuth podcast powered by Parramatta Toyota, Sydney's Toyota dealer with a passion for performance and motorsport. Let's press on now with my chat with Tim Leahey. In part one, we covered off his early years in Orange and those steps up the ladder of Australian motorsport. So in part two, we'll push on. We cover a range of stuff, including that friendship of his with Marcus Ambrose and how he felt he needed to finish the story in a way for our late mate Stewart McColl. Let's get back into it. It's Tim Leahey on the V8 Sleuth podcast powered by Parramatta Toyota. You mentioned Formula Holden before. I want to go there because it's a topic that, and cars in an era that it was the next step from some Formula Ford. And you'd had a taste in 99. 2000 is memorable for me because it's my first year on the beat, out there going to the races, reporting on them. I'm doing Formula Ford and Formula Holden. And Formula Holden that year, yourself, Christian Murchison, Dale Breed, Paul Dumbrell, Simon Wills. It was a very good year of very good cars, drivers, teams. It was probably about when Formula Holden was pretty strong, all things considered. And those cars were fast, like to the point where they were outright lap record holders at tracks, and you are unbeatable as go on, tell the world, what are you, the outright lap record holder for?
It's my claim to fame, mate.
Oran Park.
Oran Park.
It cannot be beaten because the track is not there anymore.
Exactly. That's my only claim to fame.
No, you got many. You've got many.
Only claim to fame. But
it was a cool era, wasn't it, mate? Those cars, that series, the teams, the people involved.
Yeah, I just love those cars. That was my favourite race car. It was made more enjoyable that year by working, I think there's nothing more enjoyable than driving a race car when you actually get it right. And the setup right, and there was a guy called Johnny Porter, Nobby they used to call him, and he was around forever. And I reckon by the time he was probably late 50s, early 60s when I was working with him, but no laptops, no data, feel was all feel with me and him, and we used to have this twin shock set up on the front and a single shock set up on the front that we used to be changed with that car, and those cars were just awesome, just awesome. I mean, when you got them right, they were on rails, absolutely on rails. And as you said, that was super fast. Like you still talk about, like I think I qualified at Winton on pole with a 13.5, 21.5 at Phillip Island, 21.5 in testing at Eastern Creek. Like that was fast
Quick
in
cars.
those days. That was
really
they were really quick. And just turn one at Eastern Creek flat, turn one at Phillip Island flat. They were great.
Thinking about it.
No, I didn't even think about it.
No.
I remember first driving a Formula Holden at Phillip Island. They had to drill a hole in the side of my helmet, and get a strap around my arm and clip it onto my helmet, and I'd tie my head down like that as I'm driving around pit lane because my neck wasn't strong enough to hold
it up.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow. So that car in 2000 was a 92D Reynard. So it had been used by, I think, Todd Kelly had raced it, Murph had raced it in New Zealand from memory.
Yeah.
But it's funny how all these things come to play. Where's that car now? You own it now.
Yep.
You loved it so much you bought it.
Well, yeah, it was sitting. It went to the States, and they were using it as a Indy Lights trainer car or something,
like track days.
Yeah. Anyway, so Murph told me because it was advertised somewhere, and Murph said he was going to buy it, and then he never bought it, and Chad Parrish bought it, and then I spoke to Chad about it, and then he sold it to me, and then I sent it to Perth. And it's there. It's still there. And Lupton, you have to finish it. If you are listening to this, please finish my Formula Holden. I've rung you. We're not ringing you back. Please.
Come on, get it done, Brett. Come on.
Funnily enough, full circle, Renshaw's got the engine.
Oh, who was part of the Cat team back in the day?
That's right. He's got the engine. But the car's original. It's the Ridgy Ditch car because it was black, then it was green. So And the engine was a Shane Wilson engine. So the thing's all ridgy-dig. But yeah, it needs a lot of work. But I'd love to get that back up and running and do some of the historic races in it. Just because I just enjoyed that car so much.
Cool era. It's a cool era.
Bloody oath.
The standout weekend for you, you know where I'm probably going to go here. 2000 was rough.
Yeah.
Stuff went wrong, stuff broke, stuff failed, fast but fragile.
Yes.
Nothing was happening.
Yeah.
I've got to go back into the memory vault here. For Winton, didn't you have an engine problem in the lead up over the weekend? You borrowed an engine from Arthur Abrahams' team, and then you went out and beat them with it.
Yeah.
And you actually dominated the weekend.
Yeah.
That was your weekend of weekends that year.
Yes. Yeah, that was. I mean, we had, I think I was just shit went wrong. I mean, Phillip Island, we were second to Wilsey, and then I passed him into Honda, and then coming out of there, it broke a drive shaft. And then, and Winton, we got there, blew an engine, okay, and then Arthur kindly lent us his spare, and we put his spare in the car, and went out and then we put the under tray on the car, and went out. That was practice 1. Practice 2, put the under tray on the car, pinched the rear brake line. So as I went out, it locked the rears, so I didn't make it round. Missed that session. Go out for qualifying and put it on pole with a 13.5, then win both races.
You should just stop practicing.
Didn't need to. But yeah. And Canberra, remember we did Canberra that year?
Oh, man. I think I'm still thawing out from that. How was it to drive around that place in one of those things?
Oh, mate. Lucky I never had any feelings.
You would have lost them all.
Huh? Oh, my God. That joint was rough. But once again, you have these guys that you work with Johnny Porter come in and it's doing this and this. And, he sits there and gets his pencil and rubber out and starts writing all these things down. Then delivers me a car that rides the bumps a lot better, and I put it on pole.
Who needs a laptop?
Yeah, but if you remember, pole was on the pedestrian crossing.
Yes.
So when we lined up, the rear wheels were on the white lines. So I lost the start to Wilsey. He got in front of me and won the race because it was very difficult to pass.
Oh, no chance.
But the next race, he started on the pedestrian crossing, and I got him on the start, and then smoked him. And if you remember, there was it went round the back of Parliament House, and then down, and then straight up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it shit itself, and I rolled up the hill. Anyway, I was fuming. Got out of the car. Normally, you got to put the steering wheel back on. I just threw it in there, jumped the fence, just walked back to the pits. Anyway, I hear all this commotion, and I look back, and here's the race car rolling down the hill backwards because I'd thrown the steering wheel in the car, and obviously it had popped out of gear, or I hadn't put it in gear, one of the two.
Oh no!
Anyway, there's about half a dozen marshals running down the track in the middle of the track because it was a narrow little street track, chasing this car down. Anyway. Remember that play of the day, Sports Tonight play of the day? That was it.
You got play of the day. Yeah, for not being in your car. Yeah.
Car got some TV time, mate. The car, but I wasn't in it.
Well, yeah. It's better than being in it and crashing it, making play of the day, I guess. That's one way. Wasn't there a really nice postscript to all of this, mate, that you've got that car, and I think Brett Lapton's probably heard your message by now, but when Johnny Porter passed, wasn't there some of those records that you've ended up with that he kept from those days of the setups and the
I got the whole
vlogging?
So Margaret, his wife, kept the whole season book. So the older guys, they had one of those nice red bounded books with his not pen, it was all pencil writing and everything was in there, and she sent it to me with cool. A note. So I've got that with the car.
So have you backtracked the full history of this car back to European F3000?
I think it was Rubens Barrichello's F3000 car, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. I've never sat there and gone right through it. But
yeah, I reckon he ran that car in its heyday, like 92, 93, F3000. That's where that car started off.
And as a car salesman, you know that provenance is everything. So,
Yeah, well,
who's driven it before?
It's got a good history, but I didn't buy it for that.
You've got your own history with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think whilst the season was frustrating, that car and my relationship with him, and we did get some. When we're on, okay. But other than that, it had some dramas.
You were at the front, or you were blowing up somewhere parked.
Whereas my '98 season in Formula Ford, we were consistent.
You're there or thereabouts,
but didn't have that super pace.
Yeah.
That Formula Holden had super pace.
Yeah.
Just shit itself half the time. So, but yeah, I had a lot of fun. I mean, Kevin Murphy and I are good friends, and he's a good man, and Johnny Porter, and I mean, Kevin and Dad liked having a few beers at the racetrack. So, the only weekends that they had a bit of rivalry was when the Wallabies were playing the All Blacks.
That's when the Wallabies actually were a chance to win anything back in the day.
They were a chance.
We were a chance back then.
Hell.
These days,
not now.
That's a long grind.
Yeah.
M111, Peter Hill.
Yep.
Is that where that tie-in and that connection and relationship sort of kicks off?
That's where it started with Pete. Actually, I'm going to dinner with him after this.
There you go.
I met him because he was obviously racing that second car. Roger Oakeshott was in that third car. Pete and I met back then, and and he obviously helped the whole program move along. He's a really good friend, Pete. Mate, we had some good times, and mate, we catch up every year. Pete and I and Leash and the kids. So yeah, he's got a little joint in Fiji that we go to. We were there last month actually, hanging out. And I'm going to have dinner with him tonight. But yeah, we're good mates.
Those relationships and connections that you forge in through car racing back in the day, they flow through. Life is sort of a big round circle as you get older.
I can tell you, I've got some great mates from racing, some great mates. And even though I gave myself a pretty small window to try and be a race car driver, whilst I still have a race now and again, that's not what I am. But through our business and the car dealerships, and I can tell you now, Wheelie, Alex, Will, Marcus, Garth, we've crossed paths throughout that process, and Owen Kelly, we're all still good mates. Rick Kelly, he's now Rick's doing the that Trentham Waters caravan park. We've just bought the caravan park in Orange, so we're bouncing ideas off. I've got some really good friends over the years through this.
It's worked out. It's worked out, doesn't it?
Yeah. And Beric, who I raced the production car with and won the 6 hour with. I mean, he's a good mate of mine. So, and I've followed them all through Marcus, and I went to the States a few times and watched him race.
He's a captivating guy, and I always had the feeling on the outside he's a hard guy to get to know. He doesn't let too many people in, but you are one of those people.
Yeah, he's Marcus he's different, but the thing I guess where he and I get the connection is we probably have a similar sense of humor.
See,
he doesn't show it. Okay, and
you both have got the same thing. You both do the okay. Do you realize you both say that?
No.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, listen to it. Yeah. You both do.
Anyway, I remember,
you hung out so much over the year.
Well, we lived in Cronulla in 97, and then obviously he went overseas. And then, but he's his own.
He marches to the beat of his own.
That's right. There's one person on the planet that knows him real well. Okay, and that's his wife. They've been childhood sweethearts. And yeah, they're a good couple. Sonia's a real good bird, but they're very unassuming. They've raised 2 great kids. And he's done really, really well. But when he won the championship in, was it 03, 04, he didn't even tell me he was going to America. He rang up the day before and said, "I'm going to America." Why would you want to do that? No, I didn't understand it. Why would you do that? He said, he's a bit bored, go do something else, move on to the next thing. But But Alicia and I went there in 2006. So that was
the first year you was there?
That was year one.
Yeah.
So
And we should point out Alicia's your wife, by the way.
Yes.
For those who don't know.
Yes.
So
yes, absolutely.
that's 20 years ago now.
She's my boss, yeah.
What do people what do people get wrong about Marcus?
I don't think they, I mean, but today he's a very relaxed character. Back then he was just a racer. He was there to do a job, He looked after, his inner circle, and apart from that, that was it. I reckon. And look, he's but I don't think anyone gets anything wrong about him. He's a real good bloke, and he has got a really good sense of humour.
So you end up being part of the list of drivers to drive for Garry Rogers.
Yep.
So yourself and Greg Ritter teamed up in 2000, the year that they won the race with Garth and Bargs. You guys were in the second car.
Yep.
There's so many stories of Gary's uniqueness, kookiness, call it what you will. Have you got any Garry Rogers for us? Because I tend to find out, I think there was a story Garth told me that when McConville went to do the deal with him to drive full-time for the team, he went to see him on the Gold Coast at the race weekend, and he answered the hotel room in the nude, just for the shock value. It sounds like something Garry would do, doesn't it?
Yeah, look.
What's a negotiation with Garry Rogers like for an enduro drive?
It was a long time ago. What was it?
2000.
2000. But he was a hard ass back then. I found, but mate, yeah, I went and put my name forward, and the timing was right because it was after I won both those races at Winton. Around that time, it was the weekend before, and I rang him and I said, "Did you see me on Winton on the weekend?" He said, "Yeah, but I'd employed you before that, so it doesn't matter. So
you don't need any more money.
So you buy. Just don't bring your girlfriend to the race meeting. Like
he's big on that, wasn't he?
Absolutely. And he made Ritter because Ritter was his nephew, so he made Ritter go up in the truck. But yeah, and before Bathurst, he used to have this mate that did these, and I'll show you because I've got a photo of it. These like cartoon characters,
caricatures.
Anyway, I was with him one day, and I used to do this thing, and walked up to him one day, and I said, "Oh, because he was saying, you need to go training and do this and do that." So yeah, right. And I went up to him one day, and I did the old bicep thing, where I had the bicep. I said, "Hey Garry, how'd you like to jump off that without a parachute?" So he remembered it. And anyway, so before Bathurst, he presented everyone with these like cartoons, and I'll show you that.
Of themselves?
Yeah, of themselves. So there's one of me, one of Garth, one of Bargs, one of Ritter, and a few of the characters at the team. I think Sherl was the bloke who did the engine with the gypsy. He's still there.
Marshall, still there.
Yeah. And anyway, so mine was because obviously I'm famous for my huge calf muscles, like you, mate.
Mate, you're not in my league.
Lucky legs. Lucky legs, they used to call me. But anyway, he's drawn this photo of me with these arms.
With the biceps.
With these little biceps. And then at the bottom of it's got Tim Schwarzenegger Leahey. Anyway, I found it in the shed the other day, and it was all... And this was after he passed away. And I thought, you know what? So I took it to the frame joint, and I got it all redone and reframed because it had dust all over it. So now I've got it, and I'm going to put it in my bar.
Yes. You'll have to send us a copy of it, and we'll pop it on the socials for people to see when we launch this episode.
But it's pretty funny.
That's cool. And, Schwarzenegger,
he certainly was a character, and car dealer, and he had Nissan in the good days, like there on Springvale Road. And I remember going there early because obviously when Garth was working with me and then went and worked for him, I spent a lot of time with Garth. Actually, in the early days, I actually stayed. Garth was first living with Barry.
Yeah. Correct.
So that was in 98.
Yeah.
So Garth had moved in with Barry, and then I stayed there a couple of times, but back in the early days with them.
Car racing community, isn't it? Really, there was people living with people, and everyone's trying to do their thing, or they've moved away from home, or whatever it is. There's plenty of that.
No one's got any dough. They're just hustling, mate.
Trying to make
hustling to stay alive.
Yeah. There was, along the way, you end up driving for a bunch of different teams of the Enduros, but there's never a full-time regular seat. So is this started too late, didn't have enough money? Was there ever a chance, forget the cat thing. Was there ever a real sniff of a full-time drive in among all of this somewhere, or was it always, look, that would have been pie in the sky, it was Enduros or nothing much else?
I think I was a realist too. I was always a realist, and I think because I started late, I really put a limit on myself. If I was not in getting paid by 26, 27, I was done. Like these days, you got to pull it forward again. You got kids that are 18 years old in Formula One these days.
Yeah, veterans.
Yeah. So, but I didn't want to be, that guy who's just doing driver training, and I'd done a fair bit for David Cuff and Terry Bow in the John Bow driving school, and I whilst it was provided me a couple of bucks while I was down here, still I didn't like sitting in cars beside idiots, trying to teach them to drive. I mean, I think I told you there before, we were in an RSCS on steroids one day going through the hay shed, and I was in the passenger seat, and this guy's looped it. We're doing 200 through the paddock, through the sand trap, and I put my head down, closed my eyes, and then when I lifted my head, we're just resting beside the fence. I'm like, I'm not doing this for $250 a day. I don't need to be doing this shit. So I was always based myself from back home and worked while I was trying to do the racing as well. But it was just, I was probably a glass half full. The Enduros, I did the Enduros every time they rolled around. But you really, there's very few guys that could just jump in out of a Formula Holden and star. You needed a lot of miles. You needed green tyre runs. It was difficult because that was probably pre-Konica then. When did
Konica started in 2000?
Yeah, so probably
it's just started to get going as the kind of the overflow category, because the main game got so big that they kind of went, and it created a new market, didn't it? For let's face it, as much as for young drivers, it's the market for old cars.
Yeah,
it just worked out that it was ticking both boxes.
Yeah.
So, but in those first few years, it was rare that there was a main game team running a car in it. Stones kind of did it first with Bernard there briefly, and a few others started to leak into it, but it was still very much a privateery, level 3 type show.
So I think you probably needed, if you wanted to make it in those years, you probably needed to go and do that full time so that you were doing the miles, because driving a Formula Holden with aero and it's that's no body roll, and then you jumped into one of those things with a lot of body roll and a lot of power and not as much grip. There was a fair difference. So I guess there was always a bit of a struggle there, but I did 2 years with I did 01 with Wheelie and I.
You guys had a good Queensland 500 game,
I think
from memory.
7 or something.
But I think it was on for even better.
Yeah.
One course during the day.
Yeah, so he and I did really well there. And then Ritter and I I
think it overheated at Bathurst in 2000.
Yeah, but I think at Queensland 500 we were 8th or 9th.
Can't remember off the top of my head.
Steve Owen.
Somewhere around there.
I was 8th or something, wasn't I? Anyway, I got a couple of top 10s. I only did it 6. What did I do it, 6 years?
99 to 05.
Yeah, 6 years.
Yeah, 7, 6.
So I got a few top 10s, which was all right.
So there was that year with Paul Wheel in the Falcon. There was a McConville. I don't know, Brad Jones Racing. You drove with John Cleland.
Yeah.
I can't think of two of the more funnier people that I've ever met in motor racing to drive together. So who's funnier, John Cleland or Tim Leahey?
Oh, he's probably, well, because you can't understand him. He's probably funny because you don't even know what he says. But it sounds funny. Yeah, you wouldn't believe it. I ran into him a few years ago at a Jaguar meeting. It was we go. It was the launch of the F-Pace, I reckon. And anyway, we go and sit. There's every Jaguar dealer in the world's there, and I go up in the stands. Anyway, I sit down, and who's in front of me? Cleland. He was right in front of me. But yeah, he's a lunatic.
Oh, yeah.
He's a lunatic.
He's
Yeah.
good value. He's been on the pod too. He's been on the pod.
Yeah, he's a
So-
funny man.
Were you the sort of guy with those enduro drives that you had to hustle, you rang, you pestered, you annoyed, or did you just kind of get the phone call every year to go, hey, yeah, okay?
Nah, I don't think so. I think you got to. I think everything I do, you have to try. I mean, it does, nothing ever comes easy. And you know, I've always I got a relationship when I did the Kmart gig with Rob Crawford. So he and I got along well. And mate, my role really was to not crash the car, okay, and be a good support driver and bring it home. Like it was always, don't be a hero. Here's your job. So you had a job, so
Do the job.
yeah. So that was it. You know, and I think in those days, you know, they put a couple of young guys in the second car and put their good guys in the obviously the main car. So your role in the second car was to bring it home and not crash the car.
And that was when you were allowed to pair the regulars. Now you can't. They got.
Well, mate, I never drove on a new set of tyres.
No, you're just co-driver bloke.
Yeah, I never ever drove on a new set of tyres. So that was that, and I think, you know, I drove with Noski in that last year in 2005, and then that was a kind of around the time I was thinking, well, the boat's probably sailed. I got to get home and get stuck into business. So,
Was that an absolute decision you made there of, you know what, this is fun, this is nice, but I really need to go and
mate, I was 20.
press on?
I was 28, 29. I mean, yeah, I could see. I think when I say I was a realist, I looked at what someone like, you know, I had people around me that I could benchmark against. Like I was no Marcus Ambrose, I was no Garth Tander, you know, and to see what Will and Jamie were doing, and then I was like, I'm too old. You know, I'm 28 now. Like I've got to, and like, you know, I had an honest conversation with the old man. He said, "Man, I want out."
He wanted out of the
I
business.
want out of the business. What's your plan? Are you gonna be a pretender, or what are you doing? And I had that in the back of my mind as well. So I said I can still probably do Career Cup and a few things and do both and get stuck into business. But eventually the racing sort of wavered, but I still sort of kept my toe in the water there with a few things. But mate, I love business too. I love the car business. You know, and I got no regrets.
Nor should you.
No regrets.
Take me back to some of those other programs along the way. You mentioned Carrera Cup. We'll touch on that. But you drove a Beetle, did you not? You were part of that V-Dub. And that's I wanted to paint the picture a bit here because this is the Beetles that was a tie back to relationships that you'd had previously to Steve Knott, to Pee Wee Siddle, to those Proddy car, Beetle RSIs, whatever they were, Matty Coleman, the pit crew boys that kept on dyeing their hair different colours.
Oh, yeah, Joel.
It was a good little group of blokes who had a whole pile of fun. But that had clearly connected back to the meeting Greg and the Formula Ford stuff. So when the V-Dub opportunity pops up, you know, that's what I'm trying to paint the picture of is how this stuff happens in the sport, that you sort of come back into people's circles along the way.
Well, yeah, Pee Wee was running Volkswagens. So Volkswagen, that would have been in the early days. So they probably came on the scene in Australia strong in 2001. So they were spending a lot of dough, you know, expanding their dealer network, and they did that racing program. So they had those Beetles, but they had the R32 version overseas, which they then, you know, turned those into race cars. So they were a V6 petrol, okay, 6-speed box. So there was Matty and I, okay. So
did it have the flower in it? Remember the road cars had the flower? They still had it in the race car?
Yeah. It didn't do my manhood any good driving that thing around.
Hey, but a deal's a deal.
Yeah.
The drive's a drive.
But it was, they were paying.
Yeah, you were a factory driver.
They were paying me. I had a road car, I had everything, I had it all. Like, but anyway, it was quite funny. So we ran the production car series in 2001, actually, and we went to Matty Coleman and I went over to Germany. So Alex was in Germany at that time.
Davison.
Yep, and so he was running through the connection with Greg as well. I should just call him P in this, but so he got the drive in Super Cup. It was a German Carrera Cup.
German Carrera Cup initially,
and then he went to Super Cup.
Yeah.
So anyway, we met up over there and we went and did a race at Oschersleben, but it was quite funny. I mean, I actually got T-boned. There was a German rap star. And anyway, in qualifying, I was coming around this double left apex corner, and he's run off and torn back on, and it come straight in front of me, and I T-boned him. And he was called Schmudo, some German rap star. But that was my weekend. I T-boned Schmudo.
No one in Australian motor racing has ever said before or since the story about the day that I T-boned Schmudo.
Yeah, but Alex will tell you the story about it. And then I think the star of the next race, Matty Cohen, got hit and then barrel rolled this thing down the main straight of Oschersleben. Anyway, wasn't a successful trip, but it was a lot of laughs.
Didn't get any invite back, you two?
No.
Funny
no, but they kind of didn't treat us that seriously either. They put us out, in this other paddock, not near
no
teams.
No love for the
no. We got no love. But anyway, it was a funny few days.
Good value. I don't think we've told Beetle stories on this pod before, so we have now. But at least you didn't barbecue one like Will did at Bathurst.
Correct.
Little Dave.
Yeah.
Who crashed and watched it burn as he ran away from
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it must have dropped an oil line, then spun
I think it did. That's why he spun.
And then it spun at the top, and then he's backed it in, and then had a little barbecue up there.
One fried beetle.
Absolutely. Well, and that story, when there was more to that story, it was the whole Volkswagen thing, obviously, with Stewie. We lost him it was Sunday.
03.
I'm in the shops on, because it was 9th of August, 2003. So I was in the shops on Sunday with the kids, actually, and then it just clicked. Every year it just clicks.
Yeah.
So we're 23 years down the road.
I know.
But in 03 I'd done Carrera Cup. So 03 I'd done Carrera Cup, and that happened with Stewie, and I went back in and raced for them again. But that was probably the shittest day.
Yeah, 100%.
The shittest day of
Do you remember where you were when you found?
Mate, I was working at the BMW dealership
At home
on it was a Saturday morning. Anyway, I was on Natsoft having a look to see how Stewie was going, and because he and Stokel running those golf
GT production or whatever it's called, performance or whatever it's called, yeah.
And anyway, it's so Stokel was quicker, okay, by margin. They were 1-2. So I rang him and I was talking to him, and I said, "What's going on, mate?" And he said, "I just didn't put a lap together or whatever." He said, "Anyway, I'll be right in qualifying. Should be right." Anyway, I said, "Oh, I'll go rag it, mate." Hung up. And anyway, that day we had, we'll call her Beryl.
Are you doing pseudonyms on the podcast here, Tim? I think this is the first time in about 8 years, however many years I've been doing this podcast, someone's rolled a pseudonym.
We'll call this girl Beryl.
Okay, we're doing a pseudonym.
Who was a friend at the time. Those ghosts, I was telling you about those ghosts before.
Right.
Anyway, so she had her parents in Orange, and so we had to drive them back to the airport in Sydney. So we're driving back to the airport. Anyway, this is probably 2 hours later. Anyway, I'm driving through Lithgow, and he rings, and I answer the phone on loudspeaker, and it's Brett Lupton. And he says, "Mate, Stewart McColl's just been killed." And I was like talking to him an hour and a half before, and I'm like, I was in complete shock. Anyway, we pulled over, and she knew Stewie as well, and anyway, it was just a bad day.
It was a
bad day, and I mean, I remember talking to Siddle, talking to John McColl. At the end of the day, that was probably the worst day. Worst day of motor racing.
Yeah, yeah.
It was my worst day.
Agree. Yeah. I think for a lot of people involved in and around the scene that time, it's a category leader that won't be topped. How I haven't really stopped to ponder this, but only because you mentioned it just before that the Golf, those cars raced on the next year with Vodafone red and white cars in Pro Car, and you jumped in and you drove one. And I've never stopped to ponder that or go back to that, but was that hard to go and do, knowing that there was those cars that he had his crash in, or was it just a case of...
I think it was, mate, to be honest, I think it was therapy for me, for Greg Siddle, for Steve Knott, for Virginia Knott, for Joel Knott, who worked on the cars, Spud, a few of those guys. It was probably, we probably needed to finish the job, you know, because he'd done all the hard yards, okay, and then he got it going, okay, and I felt that we should finish it, okay, so we actually won a few races in that thing after in the production cars. So it was probably finishing the job in that regard for him. But yeah, it's just it doesn't happen anymore, mate. But you know, I think I raced with Simonson too in that Ferrari.
I was going to ask you that. You won the Sandown GT race with him in 07, I think it was.
Yeah, and he was a good guy too, but I wasn't as close as what I was with Stewie. Like,
we did do an episode with John and Janelle a couple of years back.
Yeah,
I love that they have not left the sport when they probably had every. We would all understand if they didn't want to have something to do with it, but to their absolute credit and to Katie's sister too, they've absolutely stayed connected.
He's they were in Orange 6 months ago, mate. I had lunch with them. They have you know, it's I'm really proud of what they've done post. You know, they could wallow around, and they've gone on with them, mate. They do a lot of traveling. They're all really good people, and you know, I think they've certainly followed all the crew that Stewie hung around, like Jamie and Will and Alex especially. Yeah, and I don't talk to them enough, but you know, I've got a bit going on these days. But yeah, it's always good to catch up and go and have lunch or dinner with them, or they come and stay at my place a couple of times. So it's good.
Yeah, you pick up where you left off.
Yeah, bloody oath, you do.
Like your old mates from school that you might not see in a long time, and you just press on.
Absolutely.
Hey, tell me about the day that you won Bathurst. So the 6 hour is your Bathurst.
Yeah.
Now, the BMW Proddy car, you and Beric, you've added Will Davison as part of the trio in more recent times. And I think he's been your bad luck charm, actually, because you haven't won it since we kept up. But he did tell me that there is a rule to your Bathurst 6 hour assaults every year.
Mm-hmm.
That you've got to have fun, have laughs, and a beer at the end of every day. Is that the formula for success of conquering Bathurst at Easter?
Yeah, well, mate, I don't take myself too seriously, certainly in that regard.
Really?
Yeah, no, fair income.
I'm
fair income.
Who would have thought?
We're here for a good time, not a long time, mate.
True.
But not really. I mean, that race, we've done it since day dot, Beric and I, and as soon as we got that M3, like we had that little 1M coupe, but as soon as we got that M3, you know, and ran it on one of those, what's the runs they do in November?
Oh, Challenge Bathurst.
Yeah, Challenge Bathurst. Yep. We put on the track there one day, and that thing's had pretty good pace since. So Beric and I have had a lot of good times, because that's Beric's motto. Beric does it for fun. So, you know, at the end of the day, he'll have a couple of cans, okay, and happy days. You know, he's there to enjoy it. We take a guy called Ralph Bellamy.
What a legend.
Okay, so Ralph's a lovely, he's a great friend. I think Rusty did a podcast with him.
He did. If you haven't heard it, go. Normally it's podcasters don't tell other people to listen to other podcasts, but for Rusty it's an exception. But he did do an episode with Ralph about his time at Lotus and F1 and all the stories from over the years.
He's flown in a plane with Graham Hill.
Yeah.
You know, he was there the day that Ronnie Peterson died.
Mm.
You know, and he was working with Ronnie Peterson.
Lotus.
So, yeah. So, I mean, Ralph's 87, 86 or 87. Good, and he's in good nick. But yeah, he's good fun. He's good fun to have along as part of that package. So, you know, there's Bez, there's Ralph, a couple of his guys. The first year we ran that BMW, I think we were leading with 20 minutes to go, and a wheel fell off it. We won the following year in 19. 20, they didn't have it for COVID. 21, I was second to Shane. And I think we finished with Will third. So I've been on with we've had a lot of good
You've had all the
results.
spots on the podium.
Yeah. And we've had a couple.
Yeah.
And the one year with Will, the thing kept missing. He should have won the race. So we've had a third, and that year he was third. We should have won it, but it played up. It's hard. Production cars are tough to get right because you're trying to, with all the technical side that goes on in them and all the sensors that they come to the country with, and trying to get all the electronics right with them, and remove the traction control and the lane change.
They're not built for this. That's not what they want to do.
Cameras. It's just getting. It's almost impossible now to build a production car. Turn a production car into a race car. Really difficult task.
Are you going to keep doing the 6 hour? That's kind of you did GT4 for a while. Was that just something that is hard to keep doing?
GT4 is, it's perfect really, because the cars, like that M4 I have, is a production car that's turned into a race car, but from the factory. Okay, well, the shed next door to the factory where they build the M Motorsport cars. So they cage them, they put a bit of lightweight stuff on them, but the drivetrain is right. And it's perfect, but they actually are not that cheap to run. Okay. Which was why I've sort of parked mine for the year and just do a few test days every now and again. But what's not expensive these days to run? Everything's really expensive, and there's too many categories. So it's really they need to MA need to have a good look at it and try and condense it.
Yeah, there's too many places to go.
Yeah,
there is. No, there has been for a long time, but we've been saying it for a long time.
Yeah.
Nothing's really changed. But
yeah, well, I don't. It's racers need to have more say at the top. Need to be more. The MA needs more racers on their board.
So you got some spare time on your hands?
You got
a bit going. You've got a bit going.
Yeah, I have.
Hey, tell me too, with that GT4 program, young Cody Bircher from up your way in Orange, you've helped him a lot in recent times. He's a young guy trying to carve his way through. He's doing Super 2 with the Egglestons. He's moved to Melbourne to sort of, be where the action is kind of thing, because it's hard when you're not, moving to the states where the teams are based or the racing's based. But talking to him, you've been a huge help for him, a huge influence. You've kind of opened doors. But do you feel like there's a bit of paying it forward here, not just because he's from your local area, but that where you can help people now from your experiences, that you'll do it when and where you can?
I think so. When you've got a lot of families that are involved in racing, or have been involved in racing in the generation before, it's a little bit more streamlined. They've broken down barriers. So if you're a kid from the country, it's a bit more difficult. So, mate, I'll help anyone. I'll help him where I can. He's a good kid. He hasn't got his head up his ass. If he did, I wouldn't help him. So if they're a good kid, I'll help them. But I also did. I've done a couple of things at home that to when you say paying it forward, there's a few things that you can do. Like in my town, we've got a Ronald McDonald House, and I did 6 years on the board with that and chaired it for 2 years. I think when you go and do something like that, and you see how shit some people have got it, and you go into a kids CAMS unit, which is a child and adolescent mental health unit, and you see some kids, and you see, I've got 2 girls. You see a girl in there that's 12 years old that weighs like 29 kilos or something. And these things here,
phones,
these things here with kids these days, are a nightmare. So, a lot of people should do things like that, open their eyes up. There's a lot of people that you come across, in motor racing as well. It's a very condensed circle. You get trapped in it. Sometimes you got to take a look outside and see what else is going on.
I have been asked to ask you. I did call out for many contemporaries of yours for stories and thoughts. Most of them were unpublishable or unbroadcastable. But while I don't know where this is going, but I was told to ask you about a rogue Uber Eats motorbike rider in Melbourne on a GT4 weekend at Sandown. Should I ask about this or not ask about this?
That's an easy one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's an easy one. When Cody and I were going to the racetrack.
I think that's where it was going.
Yes. Anyway,
when you laugh before you start telling the story, I'm worried.
Well, it was last year, and anyway, we're just driving down Springvale Road, okay, which is it's not like driving down the main street of Orange these days.
A little different.
Anyway, the traffic's all condensed, and I've hit the brakes, and then this I've looked in the mirror, and there's this little fella on a scooter. Anyways, I've watched him, and he's laid on the brakes, and he's hit the back of the renter I was in, and then I look at him because I'm watching him the whole time in the mirror, and then he's up, and he's on his back on the boot of the car, and then I sort of just free up off the brake pedal, and then he's rolled off and rolled back onto the bike. And then pulled up beside us, and I'm like, whoa. And he goes, I am sorry.
He saved him from himself. He got him back on his bike.
Yeah. But there's better stories than that, mate. Yeah, there's a good one of me and Les Laidlaw, 98, and hire cars, back to hire cars.
Why is it that hire cars are frequent subjects of motor racing driver stories?
I don't know.
They just get treated with utter disrespect.
Yeah. Well, we're at Wanneroo and we're driving down the road. Which model Commodore was there in 98?
A road car?
Yeah, road car.
VT, I guess.
VT. I reckon it was it VR before that?
VS.
VS. VS Commodore. And Les says to me, he's in the passenger seat, he says, you know these things, you can be driving along the highway at 100, put it into neutral, put your foot flat on the throttle, and it'll be bouncing off the limiter, and you can actually slip it into reverse, and it'll go into reverse. He says, do it. I said, righto. So we're driving down the highway into Perth, just make sure there's no one around. So whack her into neutral on the limiter, put it into reverse. I said, well, there's nothing happening, mate. And he said, yeah, wait. Anyway, sure enough, for doing 100, 90, 80, 70, 60, 40, 30, 20, then I'm going backwards. In a pile of smoke.
Sorry to whoever got that car next.
Yeah, but no problem. Just drove off, no dramas.
It worked.
But unusual thing. Who would try that? Like, I'll have to ask Les who told him what to do with that.
Who figured that out, and how did they figure out to begin?
Why would you be driving along doing 100
and then go,
and
what I should do right now?
And put it into neutral on the limiter and then chuck her into reverse?
Yeah, who's thinking of that? That's not lining up. That's not lining up.
Correct.
So, mate, what's next? Racing for you's fun. It's kind of it's an enjoyable thing. Your annual Bathurst 6 hour at Easter. As you mentioned, the GT4's parked up for the moment after a couple of years of playing with that. But automotive's busy, family's busy, life's busy, but motor racing's kind of the fun that you can fit it in when you fit it in.
Yeah, well, mate, I got, fun, we're sort of on the farm, got the horses, the girls, the pony club, they're not into motor racing. I mean, we've got the dealerships. I bought the Jayco business down the road, which has got the caravan park attached to it. So we've got a caravan park, which I've been, Rick has got that joint in Trentham Waters, which I've been bouncing a few ideas off. But yeah, his is kind of big deal. Ours isn't that big, mate. We've got Quintrex boats, Yamaha in that, maybe a water ski shop, fish and tackle shop in there, and then obviously the car business. And I think particularly right now, the car business is changing rapidly with the Chinese stuff and the EV stuff, and I've got to try and keep my finger on the pulse and what direction all that's going at the moment too. So really busy with that. Still, man, you just can't break a line from motor racing. I find it difficult because so many of my friends are involved. And I've got Wheelie's doing his thing with off-road, so kind of keep an eye on what he's doing. Cody, I'm trying to give him some help with his stuff as well. And, then you got Will sort of dialing out of full-time driving, and, all my mates are doing different stuff. And, Marcus is supporting Tabitha, and I keep an eye on what everyone's doing. And I still, I might go and do, who knows, I might go and do the round at Eastern Creek next month. But yeah, there's no doors ever closed, mate. You just get, opportunities pop up every day.
No,
don't they?
You never know.
But you're the same, mate. You love the sport, and you do a lot of stuff for these guys, like JB's book. I haven't spoken a lot about JB, but he's a good mate too, and he's a good egg. He's
It's all the car traders. You're all car traders.
Well, we're born into it, right?
Yeah.
Madecki's, me, JB. I mean, his family had Mazda and BMW, I think, in Devonport. So it's hard to get away. It's hard to get away
from
it.
It's a hook, isn't it? It's kind of, it's around. No matter what you're doing, it's...
Yeah, well, that's right.
It's around.
It's car business, motor racing. I mean, I love it all.
Helpful. Before we finish, I want you to see if you can guess something for me. Yeah. You've done very well with your memory on years and dates and names and stuff. A few pseudonyms thrown in the mix, which is fun.
Mate, I've burnt plenty of brain cells over the years. I'll give you the news.
Oh, that's all right. You can't take them all with you. So this person said that it's your comedy and bravado that sets you apart. It's one of the best mates you could ask for because you always help others. The mate that everyone leans on and everyone relies on because he's such good value, but he says it how it is and he hits you with the truth when you need to hear it. He has an incredible knack of putting his foot in it sometimes and saying inappropriate things at the worst possible time. Who do you think has said that?
Well, it's one of the brothers. Their surname's Davis.
It's a 50-50 call here.
Will or Alex or both?
You got to pick one.
Well, the foot in the mouth could be from Alex and the rest could be from Will.
You're hedging bets here. Pick one.
Will?
It was Will. Yeah, you've done well. You've got it in one. But I think he summed it up absolutely perfectly for all the people in the industry that know you, your approach to your racing, to business, to family, to everything. You don't take it too seriously, but you do when you have to. But thankfully, that's not very often at all. So where would we be without Tim Leahey, the laugh, the gags, and making the light of all the situations? So, mate, we talked about this for a long time, and the planets aligned that you're in town today for us to sit down. But if you just reflect on all that stuff we've talked about, the cars you've driven, the people that have been in your world. I mean, everyone forgets you drove at Bathurst with Eric Banner as well. We haven't even talked about the 12-hour there, which is one of those things. But it's taken you to all these interesting places with all these really interesting people.
Yeah. Well, he's another good bloke. I mean, mate, so Eric's dad, Ivan, who was at that race, worked out there at Tullamarine at Caterpillar for 45 years as parts manager. And they've got a joint at Essendon. I mean, he's a normal bloke, but he's worked really hard at what he does, and he's a good fellow. I met him through Peter Hill. Okay. But mate, as far as I guess I set out to try and be a race car driver, but I was also realistic because I started late and I was always playing catch up with getting the experience and learning how to do it all. But I think man, I've had a great time. I haven't got a chip on my shoulder that I didn't make it. I don't think I wasn't at a level early enough that enabled me to make it. And if you look at those guys, they live, eat and breathe it, and you really need that to make a career in motor racing, because it's not as if you've got 18 rugby league teams, 18 AFL teams, 20 people per side. You've got really, if you're going to make it as a race driver, particularly in Australia, what is there, 24 cars on the grid at supercars? A lot of those guys have still got to hustle and find their own sponsors. And then there's a dozen that get paid. Really small window. And when you do get paid, you've got a really small window before the next kid comes through. So I don't have a problem with how my life's panned out, and I'm very grateful for what I got to do.
Well, if you didn't know Tim Leahey before this pod, you most certainly know about him now. And for those who already know Tim, you will not be shocked that there was, well, maybe, may or not be, a few bits left on the cutting room floor. He is a ripper, is Tim. Catching up with him is always a pile of good fun. Let's hope that he gets those race cars out again very, very soon to turn some laps. If you haven't heard any of my recent Big Dog chats either, by the way, with Mark Scaife or Steve Richards, go and have a listen to more episodes of the V8 Sleuth podcast powered by Parramatta Toyota. We've got a massive archive of chats with all sorts of names from Australian motorsport. I reckon you'll find an episode that takes your fancy. Hope you enjoy it. I'll catch you next time. This is the V8 Sleuth podcast powered by Parramatta Toyota.